Welcome back to my channel. My name is Tati, and today we're going to talk about all the books that I think you should read for Pride Month this summer. I have broken this down into 4 different genres of books, and there is a 5th category, which is basically just my TBR for books this Pride Month. So the genres I'm going to go through are historical fiction, contemporary romance, sci-fi, and horror. That said, let's get started. The first 2 books are in the historical fiction genre, and they are both by the same author, and that's Taylor Jenkins Reid. So without further ado, the first book is The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I know this has been popular for a few years now and is a very well-loved book. This is about Evelyn Hugo, who is a Hollywood movie star in like the 1960s. I think the story spans from 1950s to 1980s. And it's basically about how she uses marriage as protection or as a tool to get what she wants, because as an independent woman in the era in which she's living, she doesn't have enough power or independence to really get what she wants out of life. Meanwhile, even though she is constantly getting married, divorced, etc., she is actually a lesbian. And so she has a hidden sapphic romance in the background of her Hollywood love story and all of the press releases surrounding her 7 marriages and whatnot. So this book is definitely about having to hide who you are, but making perhaps the most of it, but also being very pragmatic. You know, she uses marriage as a tool and doesn't really think twice about that. She's definitely the strong-minded and very willful character who's just going to take what she wants by whatever means are accessible to her. This is a great book to read for Pride Month, and let's just go straight into the next Taylor Jenkins Reid book. That is Atmosphere. Of course, this is extremely popular right now. It came out last summer, and I rated The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo 4 stars, and I rated Atmosphere 5 stars. So of the 2, this one is my favorite. This is about Joan. She makes it into NASA's round of astronauts where they're finally letting women into the program for the first time. So it's very much about her fitting into this science world. You know, she's breaking ground in STEM as a woman in the 1980s, but she is also having to hide her sapphic romance relationship with another female astronaut in the program. And this one is a little bit different. I think both books touch a lot on the unfairness of having to hide who you are and not being able to openly love who you want to love. Joan is more willing to be an independent woman. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to force herself into these shoe boxes to make people happy or to be what people expect of her. If you're looking for historical romances, especially sapphic romances, these 2 books from Taylor Jenkins Reid are great options. All right, the next category of books is going to be our contemporary romances, and I know that this is such a popular book right now, but I have to recommend Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed because I just read that book, and I'm not a big romance girly, especially contemporary romances. I just feel like the market is very oversaturated right now, and it's really hard to find powerful contemporary romances that are going to have depth. They're going to make you feel something. You're going to take something away from them. And so all that to say, when I started Heated Rivalry, I wasn't expecting much. I was kind of just reading it so that I could say I did. I wasn't expecting to actually like it, and I ended up loving it. So I rated that book 5 out of 5 stars. And the reason for that is it is so uniquely well done for being a very smut heavy book. It's extremely spicy, and I tend to find those books to be underwhelming because there isn't enough character development and relationship development in those books because it's oversaturated with the sex. What Heated Rivalry does is it takes those smut scenes and it uses them as a developmental tool for the characters and their relationship in a way that I have never read before. And it was so powerful and well done that I couldn't put the book down. I was just waiting for these characters to reconnect every time and watch their relationship build through intimacy and turn into something deeper than just sex, while still obviously dealing with a very homophobic sport and the fear of coming out and what will happen to them if they do. So when I finished it, I immediately picked up The Long Game, which is the second book in the Shane and Ilya plotline, because that series has a handful of books in it and they feature different characters. So if you want to read about Shane and Ilya specifically, it's going to start with Heated Rivalry, which is book 4 in the series, and then you're going to go to The Long Game, which is book 6 in the series. And no, you do not need to read the other books in the series to start with Heated Rivalry. That's what I did, and it worked out just fine. So I read The Long Game, and it was more of the same, meaning it was well developed. There's actually a little bit more emotional depth in The Long Game. I loved both books so much, so I finished The Long Game and I rated that 5 stars as well. The last book in my contemporary romance, this is more of like a lit-fic romance. I don't really know, but it is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. And I have to be honest that if I were to recommend one book from this list that you should read this summer, it is going to be this one, Call Me By Your Name, because this book is also so summery. It is the epitome of summer. It is poolside yearning. It's teen angst. It's coming of age. It was so powerful. It was so nostalgic. I don't know about you all, but I am in my 30s and sometimes I still think back on like when I was in high school and how when you're that age and you're experiencing things for the first time, the world feels so big and your feelings feel enormous and everything just feels like make it or break it, life or death. Like emotions are just so huge at that age. And now in my 30s, I don't really feel that anymore. You start to get more jaded, perhaps. The world feels smaller, and you kind of lose that freshness when you're experiencing something because likelihood is you've probably experienced it already. So anyways, there is that nostalgia for those big feelings. And so when you get to read a book that perfectly captures those feelings again, it is so magical. I said this already, but I think my favorite way to describe this book is poolside yearning. You know, when you have a crush that you are just so obsessed with and you're maybe fantasizing about, and you get to spend a day at the pool with them and you keep looking over at them in their bathing suit and you're showing off maybe and just like dying to catch their attention. That is this book. So if you're looking for something that's not only perfect for Pride Month, but also something perfect for the summer season, you need to read Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman. And please let me know if you love it, because that is almost a 6-star book for me. It's one of those books that will always be top tier. If someone asks me what my favorite books are in the world, that's always going to be one of those books on that list. That wraps up the contemporary romance. Let's move into the sci-fi. I only have 2 books on this list. The first book is An Unkindness of Ghosts by River Solomon. This book isn't a romance. This is primarily a sci-fi, but it has a subplot of romance. And when we're talking about Pride Month, our main character, Aster, she is bisexual, and she has a bit of a romance going on with a very gender fluid, non-binary character. The main theme of this book, or the main plot, is that this is a spaceship that is racially segregated, and our main character, Aster, is fed up and starting to fight against that. I ended up rating that 3 out of 5 stars, partly because the plotline actually wasn't as gripping as I wanted to be, but what saved it for me were the characters. They were so nuanced and well done that I just wanted to keep reading more about the characters, even when the plot wasn't plotting for me. The second book in the sci-fi genre is going to be This Is How You Lose the Time War by Amal El Motar and Max Gladstone. I adore this book, and this copy I own is so beautiful, by the way. This is a 5-star book for me, but I will say this book is very divisive on Book Talk because you either love it or you hate it. A lot of people describe the writing as being pretentious because it is very lyrical. It is very classical writing. And so if you're not into that, then this might not be a good book for you. But if you like lyrical books, if you like poetry, if you like reading classic novels, then I think you're really going to connect with the way that this book is written. There are these two different factions of humanity that are using time travel to battle each other so that one branch of humankind can prevail while the other one is destroyed. Meanwhile, these two women, soldiers per se for their factions, connect through these different timelines and have a romance, and how that all works out when they are fighting to destroy each other. This is a gorgeous book. Highly recommend this as well. All right, let's get into our grouping of horror books. The first book on that is going to be The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Cañas. This is primarily a female to male love story. However, there is a gay character who has some really great moments. And this all stems from the fact that Alba Diaz is a woman who is destined to be married off into an arranged marriage, and she is so repulsed by that idea that she manipulates the situation to be arranged to marriage her best friend. And so they have a marriage of convenience essentially, and her best friend is gay. So there are some moments in the story where you get to see him struggling to live in a world that doesn't support his sexuality, while we're also following Alba Diaz struggling to live in a world that doesn't support female independence. There's some great juxtaposition there, so I rated that 4 out of 5 stars. The next book in the horror genre is a novella. It is What Moves the Dead by T. Kingfisher, which is actually part of a trilogy. It's called the Sworn Soldier Trilogies. The reason it makes this list is our main character is non-binary. They are a soldier that has discarded their gender to identify as a soldier rather than a male or a female. And in this kind of fictional world, this is normal. So this character isn't having to deal with any homophobia or transphobia. If you're looking for a more cozy horror that has elements and representation for LGBTQ plus without any of the like trauma involved with like coming out and hiding who you are and all of that, this is a great book to pick up this summer. The last book on the horror recommendation list is Chlorine by Jade Song. This fits into like weird girl lit, and it is a sapphic coming of age romance story. It's not primarily a romance, it's primarily a horror, and it's like a psychological unhinged horror story of this girl who is a competitive swimmer, and she kind of takes things too far because she's kind of having a mental breakdown in the story. But meanwhile, she is in love with her best friend who is also on the swim team, and it is just such a weird book. If you can't handle body horror, this is not a good book for you. But if you're into weird girl lit-fic, if you like sapphic romance, if you don't mind body horror, and if you like open for interpretation endings, this book checks all of those boxes. Again, that's Chlorine by Jade Song. I don't see a lot of people recommending that, but I rated it 4 out of 5 stars, and I think it would be a great option. That wraps up the books that I would recommend. So I wanted to briefly talk about a few books on my TBR pile. First book that I want to read would be The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. And the reason I put it on this list is because it is about a world where people live most of their lives without any gender at all. That's really all I know about this book, so I can't talk about it much more than that. But this is also on my list of books I want to read by the end of the year because it's one of the few I have left on my physical TBR pile, and I really want to knock that out before the end of the year. The next book on my kind of Pride radar right now is Orlando by Virginia Woolf. I believe Orlando is a character who represents Virginia Woolf's friend and lover from real life, and he is a man who establishes himself and then one day wakes up to be a woman. That's all I know about that book, but if you've read that, let me know if you liked it. Last but not least is Sunburn by Chloe Michelle Howard. When I read the synopsis, it feels like the sapphic version of Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman, because it's a coming of age story about these two women who find love in the summertime. It was like first love kind of feeling. I don't actually know if that's what it's about, but that's kind of the vibe I get from the back cover. And if so, it reminds me a lot of Call Me By Your Name, which is so exciting because if it's anywhere as good as that book, then I'm going to love it. That wraps up my Pride radar. There are a lot of other books on it, but those were the three I wanted to highlight. And I'm really happy to be able to share my other recommendations with you guys. Stay tuned because my next video is going to be summer reading recommendations for you all. As always, thanks for watching my video. If you enjoyed this, remember to give it a thumbs up and please consider subscribing if you're interested in hearing more from me. All right, guys, happy Pride. Thanks again. I will see you next time. Bye.